Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here.
And Seth V.
And we're here responding to a question from Jason Clark asking what his first $200 knife should be. That's right, we're talking about next level knives above that $200 price point. So let's get right into it. All right, let me read Mr. Joshua Clark's full question here. So we've got the kind of the ground rules. He says, what should be my first $200 plus folder? My collection is 16 pieces deep currently, and with most of them in the $50 to $80 range. As I tried to determine what types of mechanism and materials I prefer, which was fruitless because I like them all. Welcome, you're cursed along with the rest of us. That said, I prefer knives with more than one opening method, as I like having a way to open it slowly should I need to, and I don't want anything too tactical looking. Thanks. All right, so I've got a selection here. Seth has got a small selection. We're going to go through them a little bit. Do you want to talk about first kind of what guided you to your picks for this segment for Mr. Clark or for anyone out there?
Yeah, this is a question that I think hits most everybody at some point. If you find yourself getting excited about knives, it's natural to start with cheaper stuff and then, learn what's out there, start to creep up the price point, and you want to know what you're getting for your money up there. What's worth it for $200 and above? It's a question that I myself struggled with, back in the day. I think that it is a valuable question because we all know that you can spend a lot and not get that something that you're looking for.
That special feeling or something.
Yeah. Whether or not your money's well spent for a knife above $200, I think depends on how much you like knives. But I wanted to pick something that really delivered an impressive experience for the money. Whether that's a signature design or, an element, say a blade steel that may not be accessible under the price point, just something that's going to give you a new experience and that's going to get you excited about knives. I mean, that's kind of what you want. You want to unbox that special knife and have it feel special.
Sure. So what I was looking for, or what kind of led me to the picks that I settled on was, he's already got several knives, several less expensive knives, and we're talking next level stuff. He didn't mention the phrase, but that's kind of the phrase Seth and I were throwing around as we're thinking about this. So I wanted some things that truly delivered that next level of things you couldn't get in that less expensive price range. As such, and I'll show some of my runners up here to kind of illustrate. Seth and I, we haven't shown each other what we've picked out yet. So it's a little bit of a surprise for all of us, which will be nice.
Early prediction. We haven't seen these. I think that our choices are going to overlap more in this video than maybe any other video we've done together.
And that's funny because normally I might have a decent idea of some directions I think you might have gone, and I have no idea on this one.
I have a feeling that we're going to have the same knife in here.
That'll be
maybe
fun.
I'm wrong, but we'll see.
So one of the things, since I didn't want to kind of duplicate an experience that you could get without spending $200, I didn't want to make a suggestion that was just kind of a gussied up version of a less expensive knife that pushed it into that price range.
Sure.
And which can be interesting because you have things like this knife right here is a perfect example. The premium versions of the Benchmade Bugout. Great knives. I own one of these S90V versions myself, and the price of this is like $250, something like that. It's mid 200s anyway. But I don't think this is the right answer for a next level thing. You can get the Grivory or the CF Elite handled versions for a good chunk of change less. So for that reason, something like this was out. And that honestly eliminated a lot of good stuff, like the Cold Steel 8015. There's an option that's like 160 or 170 bucks. So even if you're spending more than that $60 to $80 range that he was talking about, they weren't next level enough. To me.
I follow you.
Yeah.
That logic makes total sense to me, especially considering that the Bugout was introduced at that budget price point. Excuse me, it's not really a budget knife, but at that more affordable...
Compared to this more expensive one, yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to a knife that came out with a premium version and later came out with the less expensive version.
Yes.
Mentally, there's a little bit of a difference there, I think.
I think it kind of gets to what I was saying about a signature design. You know, if it's really a signature design, there's not going to necessarily be a budget version because a budget version won't be able to capture what makes it special.
I feel like you're talking exactly about one of the knives I have in here right now. Well, let me go through a couple other my runners-up too as well. Another one that got really close was the Viper Turn. Great knife, starts right around that $200 price point. This KnifeCenter exclusive version is about $250 with the green jungle wear carbon fiber right there. Super special feeling, super next level. It's a lockback with ball bearings, something you don't see too often. The fit and finish is phenomenal. But, and this may seem silly, the reason I didn't pick this is an Italian-made knife. And 2 of the 3 picks I finally settled on were Italian-made knives. And it almost was all 3. So we've each picked 3 options here. All 3 of my top picks were going to be Italian knives. And I was like, let me mix it up just a little bit.
Yeah.
But this is a phenomenal knife. I mean, look at that bad boy.
Yeah, you couldn't go wrong with that. Elevated materials, beautiful design. That's a good use of the next level budget, I'd say.
I think so.
Yeah.
And then finally, the other thing that I didn't go with, you know, when you're talking about that price range, there's a lot of like titanium frame lock flippers, like the archetype, like the thing these days. But you know, you're starting to be able to get stuff in less than $200 that satisfies that. So even though you've got some really good stuff, such as, you know, the ZT562, it's kind of a classic next level type of suggestion, or even stuff like the Wii Beacon, which is a new one from them. The reason I didn't go with one of these types of knives is I went even further. There's something more special, I think, in here. Also, you know, the Beacon, as good as it is, it feels similar to some of the Civivi stuff out there, which is much less expensive. So even though you're getting really good materials and really good fit and finish and everything, you're not getting, well, you can almost get almost all of that for a much more friendly price point.
Yeah.
So that's the reason those were out.
Okay, cool. Let me grab some of my runners up here. So, I guess the first one I could talk about, I'll pull out the Italian knife I picked, and I was so close to putting this in my final 3. This is the LionSteel Myto. It is a frame lock, it's a flipper. At the price point, I have to say the Italian companies, I think, deliver a lot of specialness for the money.
I agree. In this, so Seth and I were kind of using a $200 to $300 window for the suggestion, and the Italian stuff in that price range, you know, of all the stuff in that price range, the Italian stuff feels the most special. It just does.
Yeah. I considered the Rock because I don't have it with me, but it had a little bit more of LionSteel's signature elements. Their integral construction, which they're known for. They have this kind of extra safety that locks the frame lock closed. The Rock even has their disappearing sprung pocket clip. But in terms of a total package that I would just recommend to somebody to get your money's worth, to really use every day, the Rock is a little big, a little chunky to love at those more refined slicing tasks every day. And this really delivers. I think this is LionSteel's, all that tactical heritage, all that sturdy integral construction, all those lessons that they learned from making knives like that for so many years, I think are in this knife. Even
Probably
though,
one of their most well-rounded or versatile EDC
yes,
designs in
very
terms of the
versatile.
flipper genre. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, you know, the gentleman asked about different deployment methods. This is, of course, a flipper, but the flipper tab is removable if you so wish, and you could just have a gentlemanly two-handed opener. Yeah, can't go wrong.
Cool. Excellent. Any other runners-up before we start diving into
You know what? I have
the main event?
I have 4 knives in here, and I'm not sure which 3 are going to make it. I think I'm gonna narrow down to 3 based on.
And then we'll do an honorable mention at the end. or
Sure.
something. Okay.
Yeah, based on your picks.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go with we'll go with the non-Italian knife first, and we'll go with a signature design. I'm wondering if this is what you were getting at, but the 940 Osborne from Benchmade.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Here, I got the mini just because.
Because this was the only full size on the shelf this morning, and I already grabbed it, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Like, when you're talking about something, the 940 at this point is such a classic now. Like, it has become that. It has become such a signature kind of flagship for Benchmade. And whether you go with the full size or the big one, the mini is a little less than 200. The full size is just over.
Yes.
You can get the G10 version for just under, but there's more upgraded versions as well. I mean, the milled aluminum, the blade shape is signature, the axis lock. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I hate to get so vague, but like, there's just something about it. The 940 is, you gotta try it. Like, if you're really into knives, it is one of those designs. I think whether you get one used for a good deal or buy one new because you're excited to check it out, just try it. It will surprise you. I think, no matter what you think about it, from pictures or videos online, getting it in hand, it's just such a funky knife. It's got a great personality. It works hard.
For something that has, there's nothing else out there really that has this distinctive of a blend of hardworking gentleman's tactical qualities all in one design.
Yes.
There's other things that do it, but nothing that's quite like this knife. And it's truly hard to experience without spending the money on the real deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, all the way. I mean, Benchmade quality, made in the USA, life sharp service if you're scared to sharpen the knives, especially if you get like the S90V version. But
yeah,
phenomenal knife.
It speaks to this knife's importance. Even like, they're hard to find in stock even now. This design is 20 years old.
Yeah, I'm not even sure exactly anymore, but
yeah,
it's been around for almost say as nearly as long as I can remember, but it may or may not be true, but it feels like that way, certainly. That's funny. I as soon as you were saying that, I was like, he's got a 940 in there.
Yeah. I think between the two, I'd opt for the original.
The full size. Yeah. I mean, that's where it all began. So I
if you have to pick one.
Yeah. All right, let's see one of yours here.
All right, so I guess that firmly puts the 940 in the top three, the list of
or you could say that becomes your runner-up, and you've got three more now. Ooh. It's up to you.
Nope, that's what I'm doing.
That's what he's all right. Well, let's go.
All right.
We planned ahead on this.
For my.
That's what I love about these like surprises, like because we get to be a little bit surprised too. That's fun. That's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Okay. My first pick. Let's go with the Spyderco Caribbean.
Interesting.
Yes, I was really tempted. Well, I mentioned blade steel right up front, and I just think the experience of using a really exotic blade steel, whether it's something with really extreme edge retention like S90V or what have you, or something with uncanny corrosion resistance like this LC200N, it's just something you're not going to get on a less expensive knife. You simply can't deliver those extreme performance materials at the price point.
I mean, you're getting into the range like this 940 Osborne. You can get S30V for less than $100.
Oh yeah.
But when you're getting into the real exotic stuff, it just doesn't exist yet in those lower price points.
Right. Some of the steels that have been around for a while have sort of trickled down, but the new stuff or the stuff that's really hard to work with, it seems like a good reason to pay more. And having owned a couple knives with LC200N, I have a Spidey Chef, which I also highly recommend. This Caribbean, it meaningfully changes the way that you use the knife. Like, I treat my Spidey Chef a little differently than I do my other folding knives because I know that there is no chance of corrosion, whether I leave it covered in, sticky citrus juice or salt water. I mean, else it's technically possible for it to corrode.
We've told stories of Joe Flowers dropping his Caribbean in a stream for a couple of seasons, and it came back and it just had the slightest discoloration on it. So it's at the very limits it's possible, but like you got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, it's not going to damage the knife.
Yeah,
It may make it discolor slightly, but I've never heard of any damage happening from even the most extreme.
And that slight discoloration is under super extreme scenarios.
Right.
Yeah.
And I say all that to say that, you can just leave this wet. You can use it to cut something gross even, and as long as you don't care about putting it back in your pocket, you just fold it up.
That'll work.
Put it away, and expect that the knife is still gonna be in good shape the next time you come to it.
And even apart from like the materials, one thing I really like about the Caribbean design that you don't get from some of the other Spyderco designs with the compression lock, or across many of their different designs, is the edge comes all the way back to the handle. Hard to do on a folder, surprisingly so, and you get right up there, right behind the edge for that kind of control. I've always appreciated that.
Yeah, I was thinking about suggesting the Capara, because the compression lock was another kind of cool element that that you can't get necessarily on a budget. So I think the cheapest compression lock knife is probably the Para 3 lightweight. It's still over $100.
A bit over 100, yeah, just a bit over, yeah, at this point.
So that's fun, if you're looking for other ways to open the knife, you could always...
This one's a little sticky
Maybe
out of the
not.
box. They do break in though.
Maybe break it in first, but...
So you mentioned steel as or blade material as being something worth kind of reaching up into that higher price range, and I agree with you. And my next pick leans into that, but it's not a steel blade. And you know what I'm going to show already, don't you? Because I already said it was going to be an Italian knife, the Sandrin Torino, with its tungsten carbide blade. Whether you go with the red G10 version for $220, keeping it just close to that $200 mark, or I think it's even more special because I like the shape of the handle a little better, or the contouring a little better, the carbon fiber version for just under $300. Really cool designs. You've got that tungsten carbide is insane. I have one of these, and theoretically I'll have to sharpen it eventually, and I'll probably need diamond abrasives when it comes time to do that. But I've ripped through so much cardboard with one of these, and it's still going. It's still just zipping through. Even though the grind doesn't look like it's really high and really efficient, the blade stock to start out with is so thin that it's still just a little laser beam. So cool. Gentlemanly, special feeling. You've got some cool stuff like a milled titanium deep carry clip. Very few of those on the market. If you have a milled clip, it's usually something, well, that's funny. It's usually something like this LionSteel, but in this case it is.
Yeah, they've done a little clever thing too, haven't they?
It's mounted from the tail, so you still get deep carry, but most of them are going to be screwed in right here, and you won't get that deep carry quality as much. The carbon fiber is really nice. The blade is it's something special you can't experience without spending a little bit of extra money. The Snex lock here at the back works really nicely, and you can, for your multiple...
There we go, that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah, for your multiple opening methods, you've got the flick, or you've got those standard thumb studs to be a little more polite. And just about anything you're gonna be able to do, of course, a nice two-handed opening as well. So cool knives, such a cool material, and it's really, knives like this and some of the Terrain 365 stuff out there is really showing, non-steel blades are starting to come into their own more than, like the ceramic blade era, which is really exciting to see. And it's exciting to be kind of on the front of that if you're looking to spend next level money. Yeah,
it's exciting stuff. Sandrin's, actually, you don't need to hand me that.
Did you have the one too?
I sure did. My next pick, the Sandrin Torino.
Phenomenal.
You know what it is? It's we both set out looking for special knives. And like when you're talking really special knives, especially when you narrow it to a little sliver of a price point, there's only so many things that really stand out. And I gotta say, this is one. I agree with you 100%.
I'm loving this, but if you're upset by this, I'm very sorry. And no, we did not coordinate this whatsoever.
Yeah. There's nothing else like it. And nothing else even comes close. Just look at that like spine on shot. How thin that is.
Yeah.
Crazy. And yeah, it comes down to the material choice. Sandrin, I don't think any other company in the world is equipped to make knives from tungsten carbide.
Yeah, the problem, quote unquote, problem with it has always been it's a fairly brittle material, but they've figured out a way. I mean, they've been making tungsten carbide materials since the 60s, I want to say.
For a long time, well before they started making knives.
Yeah, they only started making knives within the last 5-ish years, and it's just a second generation company at this point, and they have a formulation that works to bring toughness back into the material, so you don't have to worry too much about it, chipping and shattering like you might a really hard tungsten material you might be familiar with previously. It's the same, but very, very different.
And for that next level experience, you're going to be able to see what this can do, see how long it can hold an edge, see how many miles of cardboard you can cut before it goes dull. That's going to be fun.
And you don't have to spend $500 to be quite literally on the forefront of performance of what's capable today. It's right here for $220.
Yep. I want to put this one on my end.
Yeah, you go. We're running out of space over here. All right. Well, since you copied my last two answers, why don't you?
I did, didn't I?
Why don't you take the next one?
Well, I'm afraid this is my last pick, but it is a knife I would be happy and proud to carry every day. GiantMouse Sonoma V2. This is just so refined. There's no kind of signature element here like there is with the tungsten carbide blade on the Sandrin, the compression lock on the Spyderco, or even just kind of the overall funkiness of the 940. This is just an excellent design from a couple of the best knife designers working right now, Jens Anso and Jesper Voxnaes. And man, it's just so good.
It is. It's one of those understated designs. It was one of my favorites of last year, which, we've got my top 21 knives of 2021 video. This was in it. It's a great knife. It feels wonderful. They're built well. It feels special. It feels more special than the pictures would generally indicate, I think.
Yeah. And the V2 version, especially the V1, was a titanium frame lock. I think a great knife, but not quite as comfortable as this fully contoured liner lock here. I don't think you sacrifice any performance, even though it is a little bit cheaper than the original. And in fact, I prefer the wire pocket clip on this version. Just so easy to live with this wire pocket clip, It kind of is springy in your hand, so it doesn't poke you, and it is really thoughtless in and out of the pocket, which is what you want. You don't want to be struggling with your knife, and for $200+ this delivers that. This knife has been designed to work every day for everyone, doing just about anything that you would use a folder for, at least. And I really think get this, try it out, and you're not going to be disappointed.
It's interesting you say that. To me, it leans a little more gentlemanly than like hard use tactical. You certainly could press it into service on those, but for me, man, that is just such an executive styled knife right there. I mean, it's great.
I think the blade stock is thick enough that I'd push that knife a little harder than a gentleman's knife. It
could be. I think it would stand up to it, but I think just like the personality to me says something a little different. That's all. That's all I meant by that. Yeah, I mean, just so cool. Such a good knife. And interestingly, I just realized this. This is made in China, but most of the other GiantMouse stuff up to this point has been made in Italy. And the construction of this was designed to mimic those Italian-made knives.
It's got that
with the crown spot. Like if you didn't know, this wasn't made by LionSteel or whoever's making their the GiantMouse stuff in Italy these days. You'd think it was an Italian knife. Maybe I'm onto something here. I have one final knife, as we've discussed. I have an Italian-made knife, and this is the spin-off from the comments I was making earlier of something like the ZT here, not going farther than the standard titanium frame lock flipper playbook. And it is interesting that you mentioned when you were talking about the Myto there, how it being a slightly more friendly EDC shape. I had to go with the refined version of what put LionSteel on the map, for me at least, and that is their SR-11.
Ah,
It's a titanium frame lock flipper, but it is more special in that it has the integral construction that handles one single piece going around. I like the SR-11 over the SR-1 because the blade has less belly. It's, you know, the SR-1 is kind of real stubby-nosed feeling. This one has a little bit more utility day to day. Got a deep carry pocket clip going on. You've got their roto block system that you mentioned. You've got, what else have you got? You've got the flipping action. It's a phenomenal knife. This one definitely could go into the tactical stuff.
oh, for sure. Especially with that big angled flipper kind of guard.
Oh yeah, plenty of protection there. This is a knife that feels impressive and can be had in the titanium version for just under $300. The least expensive aluminum versions of this, which was the the version to bring the price down after the premium version came out, high 100s.
Wow.
For some of those, like 180 something, I think. So it's just under that like $200 plus, but it's not too far under that I consider this a gussied up version that I was talking about earlier. You've got the flipping action if you want that secondary opening method. Very easy to pinch the blade and thumb open it like so. Convex geometry on the titanium versions.
Really?
Check it out. Huh. Yeah. I do have one of the aluminum versions
Oh,
here
yeah.
as
That's
well.
noticeable.
You can see here on the this aluminum coated version, you don't get the convex there
That's
at the edge.
really cool. I had no idea that these came convex.
Yeah. So you get some things with that you're not gonna find at all.
That is cool.
For at least if there are some titanium integral or just integral frame locks in general under $200, they're few and far between. But you get the integral construction, you get that patented lock system they have on the back, you get the convex geometry, you get so much stuff that's a level above, several level aboves, I think, what you're gonna find in your initial price point that our questioner mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah. It's so nice to have that. The integral construction is not a gimmick, I have to say. I mean, you get the comfort of, I don't want to say a fixed blade, but
you don't have a seam there.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you go to grip like this Myto really hard right there, your skin can get in here and get pinched a little bit.
Yep.
Much less of that going on with the SR-11. If this is a little too big for you, I mean, this is a 3.7-inch Sleipner steel blade, I believe. The SR-22 in titanium is like 160 something, I want to say. So it's a shorter blade, and then there's a less expensive aluminum version of those too.
Yeah, cool. It's nice to be able to start your knife journey, figure out what you like, which apparently this guy likes everything, so that's great. I'm right there with you.
Yep.
And then kind of experience, the different characters of the knife world. Each one of these companies, to me, has a sort of different character that just comes organically from the designs they pick and
the way
what
they
they're
build
good at.
them. Yeah, yep. The materials they have, the machinery they have, access to, everything. Each company definitely has their own personality.
Yep. Yeah. And LionSteel's chock full of it with all their integral experience, all their little features that they do. Just so much cool stuff. And yeah.
And again, in this price range, the Italian stuff and LionSteel's kind of, at the head of the pack of all the really good Italian companies over there. Nothing else in this price range, or even at some higher price ranges, feels as special to me as some of these guys, some of these Italian knives right here. Mm-hmm. Well, I am very amused that we overlapped twice on our picks. That's awesome.
I was thinking at least once, but when you pulled out the Torino, I was like, oh, wow. Okay.
I said, oh, brother. Well, that's all we've got for today, folks. Let me know what you thought of these next level $200 to $300 knife picks. Let me know what your guys' next level $200 to $300 knife picks would be as well. If you want to get your hands on these guys, links in the description as always. That'll take you over to KnifeCenter.com. And make sure you sign up for our Knife Rewards program so that you can earn some free money to spend on your next level knife when you spend your money on one of these next level knives today. I'm David C. Anderson. That's Seth V. We're signing out.
See ya.
See you next time.